All right guys, so now we are on the color page inside of DaVinci Resolve. Obviously this is where we're going to be doing all of our color correction and color grading. DaVinci Resolve is well known for its color grading capabilities. And there's a ton of awesome features in here that you won't find in other programs. The approach that I'm going to be taking here in the color page is the same that I took inside the Fusion page. We're going to keep it simple. I'm just going to show you the tools that I regularly use, and then we can go more in depth on advanced techniques in the bonus section below. All right, so inside of the color page, you'll see in the top right, we also have our nodes, except now instead of text and other effects, we'll be creating nodes that add color and exposure change to our image. So this green dot right here on the left represents our original clip, and the dot on the right represents the output clip, or basically the final color correction and grade for our clip. So any nodes that we have in between these two dots are essentially just layers leading to the final composite or look of our video. And if you look above our nodes right here, there's a little piece of text that says clip. It might say timeline for you. Either way, you can switch this between clip and timeline. And what that means is you can actually adjust your individual clip if you have clip selected, or you can adjust all of the clips on your timeline if you have timeline selected. So in our case, if we thumb through all of these clips, they're all very similar exposure, colors, etc. So we might as well do the basic color correction and grading together. So to do that, we're just going to make sure that this has been switched to timeline. Then we're going to right click, we're going to add a node, add a corrector node, just like that. And then just like we did in the Fusion page, I'm going to click and hold and drag this dot over. So now we've connected this node. This is the input for our correction node. And I'm going to do the same thing with this box, drag and drop, bam. So I haven't made any color correction changes yet, so we're not seeing anything. But just to give you an example, let's say I go and change this. I'll make this whole image very pink. So now you see that that is reflected right here on the node. And because we're affecting our entire timeline, I can thumb through all of our clips and you'll see that all of our clips are selected by the color change that I've just made. I'll go ahead and undo that. And by the way, if you want to, you can switch between clip and timeline just by hitting these two dots right here. So I've already been playing with it, but all these tiles right here, these are all of the clips on our timeline in order. We could even go up and toggle this timeline, or the clips if we want to hide it, so I can show the clips. We can show our entire timeline zoomed out. A lot of options here, whatever looks good to you. This is the view that I personally like using. So real quick, let's do some basic color correction to all of our clips. Like I said, they're all very similar exposure and very similar colors, so we can kind of do a basic color correction and it'll be pretty well applied to all of our clips. What I'm going to do is just make sure that this node is selected. Down here in the bottom left, you have all of these different panels that you can choose between. You can do color match, HDR, RGB mixer, some motion effects. You can have your curves tool right here, your color warper, qualifier. I've said this a million times. There are so many things you can do with DaVinci Resolve. I'm just showing you what I generally do. So we're gonna jump over right here to our color wheels tab, and I'm just gonna adjust my contrast, my shadows, my highlights, my saturation, just a little bit, just so I can get the basic look that I'm going for. And by the way, we can click on this icon right here near the bottom right, scopes. We can actually open that up. I'm gonna do the waveform. And this is just gonna help us match our exposure, get our hues where they need to be, color temperature, etc. So the different scopes can be very useful if you need to look closely at skin tones, your RGB parade, you name it. So I'm just gonna go over here. I'm gonna bump up my contrast just a touch. It's already pretty contrasty, but maybe just a tiny bit. Yeah, the smallest amount. I'm also gonna bring up the shadows a little bit. Maybe right about there. And by the way, I'm looking at my waveform right here. I'm making sure that my shadows are sitting above 0. If you look right here, these are our highlights and they are peaking very high. So I'm gonna go over to our highlights here in the bottom left. I'm gonna pull those down. I'm gonna put it down just below 768. The midtones look good to me. I might just bump the saturation down just a touch. And by the way, you might have noticed that there's actually not a direct setting labeled exposure. You adjust the exposure with these wheels right here. You got your lift, your gamma, your gain, and your offset. I usually just adjust the offset a little bit. Bam, I think that looks pretty good. This is kind of a moody setting, so I'm okay with it being a little bit dark. Okay, so now we have our basic color correction. If we hit the number right here on our node, we can actually toggle it on and off. So that's before and after. Pretty minimal, but I do think it looks a lot cleaner now because we brought those highlights down just a bit. And now what we're gonna do, right click, hit add node, make a corrector. I'm gonna click, I'm gonna drag it right here, and it's gonna automatically connect this node. So again, these are like layers. This is like your first layer, and this is your second layer. So we're working from left to right. So on this node, I'm just gonna do my color grade, keeping it simple. To kind of expedite this process, we're actually gonna be using a 𝙋𝘼𝙍𝙍, and it is in the download section above. So if you wanna download it and follow along, that would work great. I'm actually gonna go grab the 𝙋𝘼𝙍 from my Finder. So I have it right here, bam, in my 𝙋𝘼𝙍. Right here, and go ahead and copy that. Then we're gonna jump back into DaVinci Resolve. Gonna go down to the gear icon, color management is where we need to be, and then lookup tables. So if I went too fast, I'm sorry, all I did just barely was I copied the 𝙋𝘼𝙍 file from my Finder. I just copied it onto the clipboard. So now what I'm gonna do in here is I'm gonna open up the 𝙋𝘼𝙍 folder, just like that. It's opening up where the 𝙋𝘼𝙍s are stored on my computer for DaVinci Resolve. I'm gonna jump in here and I'm going to make a new folder. I'm gonna title it Landon BTW. You can title it whatever you want. I'm gonna open that up and I'm gonna paste the 𝙋𝘼𝙍 that I just got off my Finder. And I can close that, jump back into Resolve, and then I can hit update lists. So what that did is it just updated the library of 𝙋𝘼𝙍s that are stored on my computer. So now I can hit cancel, and now you'll see that the folder I just created, Landon BTW, is now in the 𝙋𝘼𝙍 panel. So I can go ahead and click on that. There it is. I'm just gonna click and drag this onto the second node. So now you can see it's been automatically applied to our clip. If we wanted to change the intensity of that 𝙋𝘼𝙍, just keep the second node selected, and then we're gonna jump down to the key tab right here, open that up, and then we can adjust the key output gain. So I can pull that down, you'll see that it's not as strong. I can pull it up, you can see it's even stronger. I'm gonna put it maybe about right there. I really like the look of this 𝙋𝘼𝙍, so I usually don't modify it very much. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with that look. I think it looks great. Might thumb through the rest of my clips just to see how they look. Very nice. I'm very much into the teal and orange still. So now if you wanted to make any adjustments to the color grade beyond that 𝙋𝘼𝙍, we'll just keep that second node selected, and then we can jump into the color wheels tab. We can make some changes here if we want to. We also have the curves panel. If you wanted to give it a little bit of an S curve, I might do that just a touch right about there. We can also change certain hues, saturation of those hues. Like let's say I want to change the hue of the orange right here. I can click on that with my eyedropper tool while I'm in this panel, and I can go ahead and pull this down and make it some crazy green color. This is very similar to what you have in Premiere Pro in the Lumetri color tab. So if you're coming from Premiere, this should be a little bit familiar. We can also jump to the qualifier tab if we want to. Again, we have an eyedropper. We can select a certain color here. We can kind of adjust that. This is kind of like your HSL secondary. Usually comes in handy for skin tones and stuff like that. Like I said, there are just a lot of other tools on the color page. You could honestly make an entire course just on the color page, and people have. So I'm not going to cover anything else in this specific video, but I will be adding stuff down into the bonus section below. Now, the last thing we're going to do before we finish it off is I'm just going to thumb through our clips and make sure that the exposure looks good for all these. Can use this right here to actually thumb through all of them at the same time, moving through our timeline. Very nice. And actually this clip just looks a little bit too dark for me. So if I want to change just uniquely this clip, what I can do, I'm going to hover over that. So that's selected. I'm going to switch this back from timeline to clip. You'll see I have this single node that has not been touched yet. And I can go in, I'm gonna bring up my shadows just a little bit for this specific clip because I think it's a little bit too dark. Might even bring down the saturation just a touch. Just an example of if you do see other fine-tuning adjustments that you need to make, you can quickly jump in and just fix them on that individual clip. So looking through, I think we are good on the color side of things. In the next video, we are going to be jumping into the Fairlight page and mastering our audio and adding a couple little sound effects.